Okay, hey everyone. My name is Elizabeth Garvish, and I am the managing member of Garvish Immigration Law Group here in Atlanta, Georgia, a business immigration firm based in Atlanta. Um, I am here with my fellow LeGALS, quote unquote, and we actually now have this trademarked LeGALS. Supposedly we're getting that certificate. But this is our attempt, maybe during the pandemic, to bring some information to our community as lawyers, as legal entrepreneurs, as mothers. Um, and I think this is just the tip of the iceberg for what we want to do with LeGals. Hopefully, we've been pushing content out there every month, interviewing amazing women in our communities, and that's what we're going to do today. But hopefully, we'll be able to do more with LeGals and more content more often, and really empower women from law school to however old you're going to be when you stop working. So, where I'm almost close to being there. No, just kidding. I have like 20 something years left, probably, or more. We'll see. So I'm here with this group of amazing lawyers, and I will introduce myself first. And now you know what this is. This is an interview and a discussion about everything law, moms, children, pandemic, everything. And we're going to be learning about our special guest, her who's also got a beautiful name, Elizabeth, and how she kind of does it all: mom, lawyer, entrepreneur. I hear she's like an amazing runner, an athlete, and some crazy stuff, and a judge. I think she does a lot of things. So we're really looking forward to hearing from her. But I'll introduce myself, and then we'll go around to everyone. But I, again, am Elizabeth Garvish. I run Garvish Immigration Law Group. We are a business and family-based immigration practice. I am very passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about personal development, mindset, and abundance and positivity. And I'm really working on my self love right now. And so that's a little tip about me. Who wants to go next?
I'll go because I unfortunately don't get to stay the whole time this time because I'm down in Tifton. My name is Amna Shirazi, and I am coming to you from my new South Georgia office in Tifton, Georgia. And I have a 5 p.m. Dinner with some local attorneys, and I wanted to uh, talk a bit about my firm. What we do is family based immigration to some degree, but I also do a lot of immigration litigation and ICE detention removal, asylum, VAWA, youth visas, and all different types of cases like that. And we are also getting ready to start another type of practice, which is also in the works. I'll keep that for another time. But welcome, Liz. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And whoever's next.
Okay. Uh, my name is Lorena Saidi. I am a consumer bankruptcy here in Atlanta, Georgia, but we actually cover the northern and middle districts of Georgia. I've been practicing bankruptcy law now for 20 years. I absolutely love it. My firm only represents debtors that are having financial problems, and we do just focus on 7s and 13s. I have had my firm now, Sadie Law Group, specifically for over a decade. And I love all the craziness that goes with being an entrepreneur and the craziness of running a law firm.
All right, so I guess that leaves me. I'm Melissa Watley. I am an Atlanta-based tax attorney, so I represent individuals and businesses before the Internal Revenue Service and the Georgia Department of Revenue, with anything like from a tax audit to a collection issue. So I get to fight the government all day for taxpayers, which is really stressful. And I'm also having a baby in 2 months, so exciting. So we'll turn it over to Elizabeth so we can learn more about her.
Hi, so I'm Elizabeth George, and I am not a mother, other Elizabeth, but I am a proud auntie. And if I could turn my camera on, you would see all the toys in here for my niece, Sophia, who is awesome and I love. But I been practicing in Atlanta for about 15 years now. I started out doing consumer bankruptcy, and I know Lorena from bankruptcy court because you see all the same people all the time, and I do miss it actually. I practiced on the consumer side for a while and then switched to the creditor side. Did some foreclosure litigation, eviction litigation, mortgage banking, real estate, that kind of stuff for a while. Kind of got burnt out on the whole billable hours deal. And so in 2012, I left and joined my husband, who had the Shah law firm at the time. I swore I would never practice with him. And then there I was. We did criminal defense, mostly like white collar criminal defense, and then segged into personal injury. The firm now is pretty much me. I am the managing partner. I manage all the day to day, and I pretty much have it scaled down to just personal injury. That's what I prefer. That's what I like. I like helping people, and I like what I do. I like being able to pick my own clients, and handle my own cases. So that's awesome. In the interim in December, I was appointed as a part-time magistrate in Fulton County. So that's what I've been navigating since then. That's been keeping me busy. I do like it so far. So it's interesting to put on your judge hat as opposed to your advocate hat. And so that's really kept me busy over the last few months, getting into all of that. And thanks for having me. You guys have had some super awesome guests, so I'm honored. You had Aparna on the other day, and DA Sherry Boston and Zolma Lopez. You have all kinds of cool people on here. So thanks for having me.
Elizabeth or Liz, what do you prefer to go by? I've always
both, Liz, it just whatever.
So I met, this is a funny story. So I met Liz because her husband and I were in the same Fulton County Day for 40 under 40 class, and I met them through that. But then I began seeing Liz through another lawyer that we're mutually friends with at their events occasionally as well. So we've definitely spent some time over the years, and I've always loved hanging out with you and Parag. And both of you have gone on to do very amazing things. So I'm proud of both of you and proud to have you both as my friends. But since I have to run out on you, and I apologize that I have to run out, but I'm glad I got to at least pop in and say hi. I want to talk to you about all the community service work you do, because I know you do a lot of stuff for the community. Tell us and our audience about your community service work. What made you do it? What makes you pick the particular causes you like? And any ways that people can assist as well to help you further those causes.
Sure. That's my favorite subject. Everybody will tell you I'll go on forever. When we first moved to Atlanta, I didn't have a job right away. And so I volunteered at Cafe 458 in Samaritan House. Basically, the cafe on the weekends have chef come in and cook, and it supports the Samaritan House side, which feeds, provides resume services and storage and things for homeless men. And then also it serves as, they can come in and order off a menu. So we would just get whatever produce for the day or food that we got in, and then we would cook a menu and they could sit down and you could order from it. So I got involved with that from the start. And so I've always really been interested in helping out with homeless causes. And so then as I got into the legal world through GWAL, the Georgia Association of Women Lawyers, they volunteered once a week at this place called once a month at Nicholas House. It's a homeless shelter on Boulevard in Atlanta. They specialize in, they keep families together. So you can be whatever version of a family you are. If you're a family, they keep you together, which is different because most of the time you go into a shelter. Sometimes the men have to be separated from the women. And so families usually broken up. So they have a shelter on Boulevard where families can stay together and groups can come in and serve dinner. And so through the GWAL, we would go in and serve once a month. And I just love the organization. I got more and more involved over the years. I've volunteered with them probably since we've lived in Atlanta, the last 15 years. And maybe about 5 years ago or so, I joined the board. And besides the shelter, they have the shelter, which is an emergency shelter where people can stay. They also have then residential services. So say you graduate out of the shelter, we help you with maybe a security deposit or subsidizing your rent so you can keep moving on. And we follow up and provide social work services throughout the whole process. And then for years afterwards, and we track for years afterwards. And so I've really got involved with them and stayed involved with them because of their track record. I mean, the reoccurring homelessness with them is, less than, I think 85% of the people don't return to homelessness. They really put the money to good use. People move through the shelter, at least in pre-pandemic times, within a few months, and moving into their own housing. There's programs for the parents for job skills. There's programs at night for the children. We do summer camp. You can go volunteer there. And well, again, pre-pandemic times, we're slowly, now the shelter is getting all their vaccinations and the staff is, so we're slowly moving back into where people can come in and volunteer to serve a meal. But your group could fund a meal. You could do after school activities, our summer camp, which for the kids, or any of those sorts of things. Throughout the pandemic, we didn't have any outbreaks. We did really good with COVID and keeping everyone clean and safe in our residential facility and in our subsidized apartments. So, we usually only help homeless families, but during the pandemic, about a year ago today, we started receiving money from the United Way and doing emergency assistance, emergency rental assistance. We were able to help over 1,000 people with that to prevent them from going into homelessness in the first place. And so we are wrapping that up, and we really are trying to refocus on our main goal of helping prevent and stop reoccurring family homelessness. So we have an event coming up in June. It's called our Dream Builders Luncheon. There will be a limited amount of socially distant in-person tickets. It's at the Georgia Aquarium, and it will also be streamed online. So that's something people can go to our website, nicholashouse.org, and check it out under the events tab. That's one of my favorite organizations that I've been involved with for years. And just really, I mean, you get involved in a lot of things because they pull on your heartstrings, but you really see results with them. They've grown and grown over the years, and it's just awesome what they do. So
it's amazing. So great.
And then I have one other one, Side by Side Brain Injury Clubhouse. I got involved with them. Their signature fundraiser is a Lawyers versus Doctors basketball game. And so anyone who knows my husband knows he loves basketball and
dancing.
And dancing. Yeah, he's a dancing basketball player. If you go to a Shah fundraiser, you can see him dance. If you go to a Side by Side fundraiser, you can see him play basketball. And so he got involved with their charity basketball game, which introduced me to them. And I now serve on their board as well. And they help people with severe brain or traumatic brain injuries. It's a place for them to go during the day. We have resumed some in-person operations and basically teach them life skills. There's different units they can work in. The kitchen unit or the financial unit, and everyone's got their own little job within the clubhouse, and it gives some relief to their caretakers at home as well, and just really helps them have connection with other people, and at the same time learn how to integrate back into society and improve their skill set. So it's a really awesome place too. Check it out, sidebysideclubhouse.org. I think we're the only clubhouse in Georgia. There are a lot across the country, but it's a really cool place. Once a month, we used to do game night where you came and you play with the members, different games. It was super fun. We would always bring a flying biscuit, or you could do whatever. So we're not quite there yet, but there's plenty of other ways you can help us. So check us out.
Great job. It's so wonderful to hear somebody doing that much for others. So thank you for all the work that you do.
Elizabeth, I have a question for you, because like you, I work with my husband, which that's an interesting dynamic always. But what can you point to a moment when you decided, okay, I'm gonna we're gonna do this together? Tell me how that happened. I'm just curious because I used to see you in bankruptcy court all the time, and then I'm like, oh, Elizabeth's not there anymore.
I think a lot of people, I'm sure you get all the time, we get how could you work together?
Yeah, always.
And that, but me and Parag, We get along so well. We do everything else together. It was kind of a natural progression, I think. How I got to work with him in the first place was, I loved what I did on the creditor side. I did it all the time. You get to the place where you feel like, wow, I know what I'm doing. I was very confident in my work. I've done it for years. I was a partner. But just was so burnt out because I was working for a firm where you have billable hours and all that jazz, which anybody who's ever done that gig knows it's not great. And you think, oh, I'm gonna bill all these hours and do other things and make partner, and that's what I want to do. But I kind of got there and was like, this is not for me. So I really, wanted the freedom and flexibility of having my own business. I do not have the personality of Prague, who is more of he could start his own firm and he can socialize and network with everyone in the world. And, that's just not my personality. I'm more of I will sit in the corner and research and write and bang out these briefs. And so it was a good fit because he can
teamwork.
And I thought at first I was like, I'm just going to do this for a minute until I find something else I want to do. And then here I am, I ended up really liking it. It was a natural fit. He'd always be out and about doing whatever, networking or, building the business. And I would sit and work on the cases. And, back then we had employees, manage the employees. Right now Prague is mostly with Miles Mediation. He does help me here and there if I need help on a case, but it's pretty much just my show now. I really like it. We also have, he publishes these little code books that I think more people in the criminal world are familiar with them, but they're on Georgia criminal law, evidence law, and civil law. And I've always helped him with that. And so we used to publish them through ICLE Georgia, but they stopped doing legal publications. So we said, hey, we're already doing all this together. We might as well start a publishing legal education company. So we started MyCLE, and pre-pandemic, we're doing in-house CLEs for people, PI firms, insurance defense firms, that sort of thing, bar associations, and then also publishing the book. So that's our other little project together. But, it was actually a natural fit. People are always like, aren't you annoyed you're together all day? I'm like, we kind of do our own things, and it works together to make the businesses run well. So
I'm always, and I'm going to hop off, but I just wanted to say, I'm always blown away by the sheer breadth, like the amount of work you guys churn out as a couple. It is extraordinary. And then Prague still has time to make like the Pookie dance videos where he perfectly learns like these.
We need to bring those back. That was the fun part of the pandemic when it first started, and we had Prague in different onesies doing dances. There was still hope that this is going to wrap up, but we got to bring back the dances.
You need to bring Pookie back. But guys, you guys do so much. I've never seen the amount of just churning out of productivity and having 2 jobs. It is extraordinary, and you guys are definitely an example for people to follow. And I'm sorry I have to check out early, guys, but I just wanted, since I could do it, I wanted to pop in for a second. So I'll see you guys next time. And what I always call you Liz, I'll see you soon, I'm sure, hopefully.
Congrats
and I'll
on
talk
the
to you.
office.
Right, bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay.
Just the 4 of us.
Wow. That's amazing. I love your energy. I think that's so awesome. And if you've got a great partner to work with, I think that's just amazing.
It's enjoyable to watch you guys, Liz, just so you know, like I'm always watching all your things, but it's nice because you can tell that you guys bounce off of each other in a good way, and it is very nice. And I mean, it's true when you work with your spouse, everyone thinks, oh my God, how do you do that? I could go all day and I don't even see my husband, because we're doing different things. And it is kind of nice that you're working for the same goal. There is something really nice about that. So
yeah,
some people can do it.
It works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it always worked for us. Now that he's at Miles, he gets a it's and you know how it goes. Then you end up, I mean, and people are like, well, yeah, that's what we talk about at home, but it just works. I don't know.
But you know what? I think if you love what you do, it's not work really. It's, you know, I mean, I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. I mean, it's just, these are the things you're passionate about. And it's very nice. Like, you know, watching all of the stuff both of you guys do, you can tell you really enjoy it. So it's just, it's nice. You guys are positive role models, just so you know.
Thanks.
So I have a question. You were talking about it's different. I can only imagine. Well, I clerked for actually, since you were in the bankruptcy world, I started out in bankruptcy too. Before I switched to tax law, I worked at Debt Stoppers and Berry and Associates. And so I used to have 20 or 30 Chapter 13 hearings.
The good old days. Yes. I started at King and King. So yeah, I mean, just be on all day, every day, 3-4 days a week.
They're running up and they're like, I paid my mortgage. And you're like, it's too late. But anyways, so I, before I graduated from law school, I clerked for Judge Margaret Murphy, who was very notorious in the bankruptcy court, but I loved her because as a judge, she was just like, no BS, right?
Nope, none.
None.
Yes.
And I remember her like getting off the bench and we were like walking back to chambers and she would be like, do you think that was too much? And I was like, no, I thought that was I thought that was amazing. I like all my notes were like her one-liners instead of like case notes. It was just like, that was a really good line.
Hey, you knew if you were before her, you knew you had to have your stuff together. Like, I mean, not that you always don't, but you had to have it airtight and you better be on point.
She likes to know who, what, when, where, why. And if you're a contract attorney, like, do you really know what's going on? But so I say all that because I could see after watching her be a judge all day, every day, right? Like in bankruptcy court, you sit in courtrooms, a lot, but watching her all day, every day, I was like, yeah, I could see where this job was super frustrating. People show up unprepared or they show up late or they don't know what's going on. And it is really, really hard, I think, behind the scenes to see all the things that judges have to do. So on that note, now that you are also a judge, how do you find that it's different from, like you said, being the advocate and like the challenges that come with that? Because obviously you want to be fair, but I can also see where it's kind of frustrating sometimes.
I've enjoyed it so far. I'm in the magistrate court, so it's the people's court. You get a lot of pro se people. And so a lot of it is just kind of being fair and not telling people what to do, but still educating them and taking it slow and making sure that everybody understands what is going on and why things are happening. An interesting facet, and of course I was not a judge until December, so that's pandemic times. The Fulton County Magistrate Court has been operating all via Zoom. So Zoom court is definitely interesting. Some of the frustrations, people it's like, you're still in court. I know this is on Zoom, but you can't be in your bed. You can't wear your good sweatshirt. Like, I'm talking, for attorneys, clients, everybody. So that part is a little bit frustrating because it's an odd dynamic being on Zoom, conducting court for sure. And then just, really the hardest part, I think at this point, is just all the back end stuff, all the procedure, things you don't think about, like just, what is the procedure for this? How does this order get entered? Or how does, what systems and how do you use all the technology involved? It's not as simple as just like, okay, I rule this, but like, then how does it all happen? And how do you make sure, the jail has the bond information and all of that stuff. So that is probably the most challenging part. But yeah, that and just learning to, especially magistrate court, which I think this came up a lot in bankruptcy court too. I was a debtor's attorney like both of y'all, and, especially for a bulk firm where I had a gazillion cases every calendar, and you may just see that person on that calendar and you have to be able to like break everything down and explain it in that little piece of time. And so it's almost the same, as a judge, you have these landlord tenant calendars or small claims calendars, and people are pro se and they don't fully understand the process. And So just kind of trying to be fair to both sides and take your time and explain everything, but not, but still remain impartial. So it's interesting for sure. It's
I'm
a
sure
different point of view.
I'm sure you definitely get a lot more pro se people than you normally would in most courts, probably a magistrate court. Because that's also one thing that's really hard for courts. Like it was hard in bankruptcy court because you want to help them, but also you have to be, like you said, you got to be fair,
Right.
But a lot of the times the people that need an attorney don't have the resources to have an attorney, right? Which is why they're there by themselves. So I could see where that would be really hard to do. We have the same thing in tax court, and I like volunteers to represent taxpayers pro se, and it's always really hard to explain things to them in a kind way. It's like, well, maybe the government's not wrong here, but I could see where that would be difficult.
Yeah, tax law.
I want to hear more about like these entrepreneurial, like how are you doing? So you're doing the law practice, you're doing the publishing company, and like what are the plans like for the future, like as an entrepreneur, or maybe growing the current law firm or growing like the companies that you're doing, or like I'm in a growth phase, and I've got my law firm. We're like I've already hired like 3 people. I'm probably gonna offer somebody a job like after we hang up.
Awesome.
Like and then I'm building this, co-working space that's going to serve as our office. And that's going to become a whole nother business in itself. Like once you get this entrepreneurial like bug, I mean, it just happens. And I'm also in a group that you'd probably love too, but you're in so many groups, but it's a group for entrepreneurs called Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a global group. And I love it. I get a lot of support from, just learning, tons of learning, and like all these entrepreneurs who have nowhere else to go, but we're like learning from each other, and we have support in all issues of our lives. And it's really neat to see, like, I feel like one key trait that entrepreneurs have is literally they just want to have an awesome life. They want to have a happy life. And a lot of it is like, how do I grow this business so that I can have time with my kids, so I can do these things I really want to do, and I can change the world. So I just love that. And I see a lot of that in you, but I'd love to hear about that journey with you.
Yeah. So you kind of nailed it. I mean, that's the number one reason I went from, the usual partner track job at the firm. You want to have a life. I don't have kids, but Prague and I are very close with our family. We spend a lot of time with our parents. They're probably here with us half the year, and we spend a lot of time with our brothers. And my brother has a 2, she'll be 3 in June, year old, and we love her like she's our own. So we really wanted to start our own businesses so we could have that flexibility to spend a lot of time with family. Lorena knows I like to go run and do my weird adventures in the mountains. So, just to have the flexibility to, like you do too, I always see you traveling to awesome places, but, to travel and to spend time with family and to just be more flexible. And like you said, to help save the world. When you graduate from law school, you think, I'm going to get this job and save the world, but it doesn't always work out that way, that you end up in that public service type job, but you can still you can start your own businesses, make some money, and then help the world through other organizations, which is I like having my own business for all those reasons. If I want to sponsor something or I want to donate to something. And, I didn't really have the whole entrepreneurial spirit, I don't think, at first. That came from Prague. He always kind of has, he's the one that wanted to start the firm, and he's the one that thought, when he came up with the books, we went back and forth and like, should we get a publisher? Should we do it ourselves? And so like you said, it's like, once you start one business, you kind of just want to grow, and then it's your baby, and, you like it. As far as the firm is concerned, we went through the whole growth phase where we were going to grow it, and employees and associates and all that. And it just wasn't for me. We were talking to a couple young lawyers we know who went out on their own recently the other day, and they were asking for advice. They're in PI, and they're like, should we go for a bulk practice with, tons of cases, or should we try to just, broken bones and up and have fewer cases? And I said, well, look, do you want to be a business owner? Because if you're going to grow and expand and have all these employees and things, you need to think like a business owner, not like a lawyer. I mean, still have your lawyer hat, but that's one thing you learn real fast is your lawyer hat is not going to help you run a business as much as you would think. So you have to be ready, willing, and want to be a business owner and think like a business owner. And, you know, we kind of went through that phase and we liked it, but you know, I'm back to the point where I just like to have my little cluster of cases and I know all my clients and I talk to them every day and they're my little nest and I don't have to worry about managing people and dealing with all that. I just don't want to at this phase. You know, there's another point. The same with the book business. It's just our baby. You know, Prague wrote those books, came up with those books. It was so many years ago at the public defender. He was in court and just didn't want to look at the big code book on the fly. So we started making him little index cards that we put on a rolly thing. And then I was like, you know, we should make a book of this. So, you know, that was, gosh, now, I mean, 15 plus years ago. And so, you know, and then we started publishing it and then we're selling out of the back of the car, like mixtapes, like, you know, so it just kind of, and now, you know, it's a legit operation and, you know, we just love it. So, you know, and like you said, it's just a thing. And I love like you guys connecting with other entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs. You know, I try in my life, if I'm hiring anybody for anything, it's probably going to be a woman, small business owner, because, you know, it's just something about the similar shared spirit.
And I think, Elizabeth, I think, you know, you hit the nail on the head. Like everybody's success, their journey, it's different. You know, some people really like managing a huge staff, which yes, that is the bane of I think my existence is administrate. Like, I mean, I really do. That's the worst thing about my job. I can't imagine having like a staff of like 50 people, you know, I mean,
Right.
that would be insane. So I think it's really what's your definition. Like, I mean, that's the nice thing about being an entrepreneur. It's your baby. You can make it.
And it's cool because I know people that on all levels of it, you know, that just are solo or that are expanding and growing, and it's whatever you like. So that's awesome. You know, Elizabeth, I've seen your practice just seems awesome and growing, and you know, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just and you know, I there's like goals behind all of that, and you know, I feel like everything happens at the right time in life. Yeah, I truly believe that, and like as you know, and there was a time when I wasn't really, you know, like I've grown so much, and like what is happening, and like now that I've been working so much on like, you know, my abundance mindset, and like part of that is just like the more people that I want to help more people. Like I frame it like, and right now we have the chance. Like I really think this is a time that we could help more immigrants. We can make America awesome, one immigrant at a time. But you know, it's the time now. And like, and also I'm like, I feel like I'm not done accomplishing things. I don't know. Like, I feel like, oh my gosh, I've got this kind of fire that I want to do more, and I want to see what I can do. Like, I don't want to, like, I feel like so many, like, and I have all these young, amazing women that work for me. And like, I probably have 3 lawyers that are going to be, I have one that's definitely going to law school. She got in like 1 billion law schools, and then 2 more that are going to be going to law school. And I'm like, I never had mentors. I never had, you know, I never had somebody truly support me, and not a woman mentor. That's for sure. Like all my bosses were male. They weren't supportive for the most part. I had a couple that were, and so like I have this opportunity to really give back. And like, I feel like the more you give back, like the more that just flows to you. So like, I don't know. I just feel like so grateful for, and you do the same thing in just other ways, I'm sure. But, I'm like, I've decided I can't be on the board of whatever because I don't have enough time because I'm trying to grow this business. But, you know, like I agree with you. I'm like one of those people, and I'm like, I can't stop putting my hand up, you know, which is sometimes we have to choose because we want to focus. And there's a book that I was reading, one of the rules. It's Jordan Peterson, and it's like the 12 rules, and he's got another 12 rules. And I think one is like, try to do one thing, like, and focus on it, and just, you know, see where you get with that, you know. So I think, you know, if we disperse our energy way too much, then, you know, it's not going to be as productive. But yeah, and there's a time and place for everything. Like there's just the time. And I truly, I feel like figuring that out and finally being at peace with that and not trying to rush things. Like I say in my own, like, this is my own phrase that I coined: surrender to the certainty. I mean, just forget it. It's happening. You know, if we're certain about things, we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, and I feel like we're on this never ending journey. I mean, ultimately the journey will end, but it's this journey of like, I feel like we're always trying to get somewhere so fast, but if we can just enjoy that journey, you know, whatever we're on, we're like, you know, these challenges, let me get to the end of this or that or whatever, but really it's just like every day. And kind of the excitement of like, okay, how am I going to do this? And like, I love setting goals, and like I framed my goals and like the number of people I can help, but really that's down to heart. That's revenue too. And like, you know, how are we going to do this? And so like reaching those goals, and like even the team is involved, and it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm enjoying this whole side where I'm stepping a little, not so much back from the law practice, but like maybe the day-to-day grind. Cause we did everyone's strength tests, and like my execution strength is not like the best, you know, like you were saying, your husband has these qualities, you have those, but I'm a futuristic and a positivity and like a woo, like I'm good client facing, I'm good with strategy, but you know, I've got an execution team like no other, you know. So, and then my next thing that when I'm doing this hiring, I'm like, I've just got to hire better than me, way better than me, you know, and hire and give value to those people. So like, it's really interesting, you know, kind of switching up your mindset and how that brings growth and all of that. So that's what I was saying. I love entrepreneurship, and I love, because I'm exploring all this in myself. But there was a time like I had different goals as well, and I didn't even think there was a time when I was like, QuickBooks, what's going on? My first meeting as an
Brag's job. I don't deal with QuickBooks.
My first like meeting in the accelerator program at the entrepreneurs group was like, you know, the leader was like, you have to know what's in your QuickBooks. I was like, oh crap, I gotta know what's in my QuickBooks. I don't know it. And then now I've been asked like a couple times to speak nationally at our immigration conferences on profit-driven law firm, and I've talked about all this money mindset stuff. And I'm like, I've come full circle, which is cool to see. And I think, you know, like it's cool to, I don't know, just to really acknowledge like all the amazing things that we're doing as women. I mean, everybody like in this group is like so badass. I mean,
I thought that. I was like, you know, y'all are great. It's a really, I don't know. And it's cool to see everybody doing something different. You know, me and Prague, we usually go in the winter. We didn't this year because of the pandemic, but to our old law school, and we teach like a 1 week couple of courses. And so like when you're talking to the law students, it's just funny because, you know, they're also like, you know, back then you forget, you're like, okay, I have to do this and I have to do this, and this is the way it's going to go. And so it's just kind of good to remember throughout, like, you just kind of got to go with the flow. I mean, not to not have goals, but like at some point in your life, like early on, that's how I was structured and I had goals, working towards them, this and that. And then as it's kind of gone on, I've just kind of gone with flow. When an opportunity comes up, roll with it. And there's no really grand plan at this point. It's just kind of like, oh, cool, this is working for me now. And, you know, so it's good to know that you can be in both of those tracks and make it work. You know,
that's the key word, flow.
Yeah.
That's the key word. If it's flowing, right. If it's resisting, it's not. But that's great that you're giving back to the law students. I feel like I didn't have too many options. There wasn't options back. I like, as I'm kind of, I have these younger people that are going to law school and stuff. I didn't feel like, you know, we didn't have social media. We didn't have really like those examples of amazingness in front of us all the time, that positivity. I know there's some negativity, but I feel like it's crazy. I mean, all these young women, I'm just like, God, you guys can do anything. And you don't have to do exactly, like literally, you don't have to go work at a big law firm. And you don't, because like, I can tell you that because like, I found that out the hard way. Because they said, oh, you have to go work at a big law firm and do this. And like, you don't have to do that. Like, we don't, like, I think I'm the poster child for like, you don't have to do life the way people think you have to do life. You know, like the expectation of like, you know, someone's life is, it doesn't have to be that way. Things can be out of order and things can be upside down, and you can still achieve everything that you wanted. Or maybe your order isn't the same as somebody else's order. So I think those are great lessons. And I hope that we can, you know, I'm hoping with LeGALS, and if Amna and I, and, you know, we were talking about this the other day about, you know, just like, you know, what can we do with this group to like just empower more young women and more future attorneys, and, something amazing. So that lights a fire in me. And that's what you want to do. I mean, do stuff that you love and that lights a fire in you every day.
I think in law school, they're getting better about having more options for students. Like I went to Georgia State and I only graduated 5 years ago, but like we had clinics. And so I learned tax law in the clinic and I was like, wait a minute, this is super easy. You can do this with more zeros. Same work. So I think they are getting better, but I do think it helps to have mentors and to have people, there to discuss. Cause like I've had a lot of interns, they'll be like, well, how did you get here? You just graduated from law school 5 years ago. And it's like, yeah, I know you see like point A to point B and there's only 5 years in between there, but before those 5 years, there was me being a paralegal at a bankruptcy firm, and there was me clerking, and there was me going to law school at night. There was me doing all these things behind the scenes that you don't see. So I think sometimes younger people are like, well, A to point B was only this much time. And it's like, but you only saw these things. You didn't see all these things that went behind that. Because honestly, when I worked and went to law school at night, I thought that was the hardest thing I'd ever done until I became a mother, and then I learned I was wrong. So yeah, going to law school at night was not a big deal. Wrong. I was completely wrong. But the point of all that is like explaining to younger people, yes, you don't have to do what the law school tells you to do, but if you want to take an alternative path, you don't just arrive there, right? You don't just show up and now I have my own law firm and it's been, 3 years.
Yeah. Mark and I talk about that. We think that's like a lot of people, social media is good and all this stuff, but it's bad because people are just like, okay, look, you're great. But like, they didn't see all the like failures or all the hot mess you were.
All the ugly stuff. and it's funny. Like I think about like all the skills that I've accumulated over all the different jobs I've had, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And probably most of them were non-legal jobs. And that I think those skills more than anything help me build my business and get me to where I need to be. And those are important, and I think folks shouldn't discount, working in other fields. Even if you want to be a lawyer, like there's just so many facets that go into what we do. That, I think unfortunately, and I was the same way when I went to law school, I didn't know really anything about I was like Elizabeth, like, okay, I got to get a job at a big firm. And, and that was going to be my path. And it's really funny for me how I ended up in bankruptcy because I was a corporate lawyer when I started and I never wanted to step foot in a courtroom. I was like, don't want to do it. So it's comical that that's where I found my passion.
You're in court all day, every day.
Right. So
I always try to ask people too, like when law students come to me because they'll like find me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and they're like, oh, when does law school, like, how did you get here, blah, blah. And my thing is like, or they're like, what job should I take? Should I work at this firm? Should I do this? And it's like, honestly, what you should ask yourself is, what do you enjoy doing from 9 to 5? Do you enjoy sitting in a corner somewhere writing, like Elizabeth, you mentioned, like, I could research all day. I learned when I was clerking for Judge Murphy, she locked me away in a room, not intentionally, but she was like, here, write this brief for this chapter 11 case. And I was like, man, this really sucks. I've been in this room for 8 hours. I have only written like 2 pages. I was like, I need to be out talking to people because I feel like my best use of advocacy is being able to talk to people and negotiate. Or like your husband, like he's like networking and building a business. So what I always try to ask them, like, what do you enjoy doing? Like, do you want to sit and not be bothered and be able to research? Do you want to go out and meet people and try to bring in clients? Do you like just doing consults? Like, That's how you should look at what job you want to do, is ask yourself what task you're going to be doing all day. And if you're really going to enjoy doing that task all day.
And I think when you're new too, sometimes just doing whatever, like you may think, I don't want to, just try it. Some of it, I mean, then you learn, like you said, like when I started, I took that job at King & King. I didn't even know what bankruptcy was. And that was well, I guess we did have like Google and stuff, but I'm like trying to figure out like what the heck, anything about it. Like reading, I got one of those, what were those examples and explanation books from law school. And I like got one of those from the library and looked at it and I'm like, bankruptcy. Okay. But like you're thrown into the fire at those kind of firms. So I was just forced to be in court every day, and you figure it out. So sometimes, you know, and like you said, you learn some things you like and some you don't, and you're like, okay, and you just got to figure it out.
I remember like being, so before I got my license, I worked at Debt Stoppers and they put me in the College Park office, and it was like bankruptcy triage. We'd literally like go out to the waiting room and be like, who's got a foreclosure? Who's got a repossession? Who's got a garnishment? Raise your hand. Everybody else go home with this is all the cases we could file today.
Right. Exactly.
And it's like, this is crazy. But I feel like you said, you learn, you know, that wasn't the best job I've ever had. It was a lot, it was, you know, the pay was low and it was a lot of hours.
You'll not work more than those jobs. You'll work a ton, but you learn. You sure learn.
You learn. I think I only worked there for 30 days, and they're like, "Why are you quitting?" And I'm like, "I don't know." But and nothing bad to be said about the firm. It's just it's a volume firm,
right? You just have to be ready to handle that many cases.
Yeah, but I think people learn by, like you said, like all these experiences, and it took me like 6 legal jobs to be like, I just need to be my own boss. You know, and I think people forget seeing all those little steps, because law students are like, well, I'll just start my own law firm tomorrow. And it's like, I mean, you could. Do you know anything about, like, I had one student, it's like, I'm going to start my own family law firm. And I was like, do you know family law? Like, besides the class you took, like, do you know it? Or, well, I can learn it. It's like, well, you might want to get a little bit of experience before you go out. You know, I don't want to discourage people, but I do think there's a lot of steps in between finding what you truly enjoy doing and what makes you happy. And sometimes you have to go through all those bad jobs. Like you were talking, you worked so hard to be partner. I met a woman who was partner. She got all the way there. And then she was like, you know what? I think I'm going to teach yoga. Like she called me, she was a partner at a DC law firm, called me after hours and was like, do you think it's weird if I quit my job and I become a yoga teacher? And I was like, honestly, if that makes you happy, no. Like,
yeah, when I first quit that, I actually did do a month of teacher training and got registered and started teaching yoga, but you learn real quick you're not gonna live the life you are accustomed to on a yoga teacher's salary.
Well, so. I mean, she had been working for a long time, so now she travels the US in an RV with her husband, and they send me all these great photos of them just out in these national parks. But you know, like she was like, I thought that achieving all these things that would bring happiness, right? Because like a person's definition of success is like, oh, I make partner, I'm successful, therefore I will be happy. And she's like, I spent 20 years chasing this thing that was going to make me happy, and I'm not happy. And I was like, just leave, you know? Because I was leaving my law firm to start my own law firm, and she's like, you're 29 years old, why are you leaving? I was like, I'm not happy, I'm just gonna leave. And my parents thought I was crazy. And then she called me after she left and she was like, you know, I'm in my 50s. I wish I would have done this when I was your age. But it's like, but sometimes like we said, we're all on different paths.
Right, yeah. And I think it's harder too for I think it started maybe, we were talking to some of the law students about this around like maybe my generation or something, like now it's normal. Like you could have, like you said, 6 jobs before whatever. Like before it was like, you get this one job, you work at it and you just stay there, you know? So I think it was looked upon badly that you're jumping jobs, but now I think that's more common. It's just, okay, well, I've done this, and I'm just going to keep
not happy. Yeah. I remember my parents.
It's not the end all be all. You don't have to stick it out somewhere if you don't want to. And, you know, some people are that. The firm I was at when I made partner, it was pretty awesome. Actually, our whole litigation department, top to bottom, from the managing partner down to whatever staff we have, was all women. It just happened that way. I think actually we did hire at some point 2 guys, I think. But it was a pretty awesome. And, you know, the managing part, I mean, she loved it. That's what she thrived in it. And, you know, that worked for her. But, you know, it's just not for everybody. So.
Yeah, I think it's just like whatever, you know, and I think it is a generational thing. Like Elizabeth said, like, now we have, you know, people to look up to, people that have done it before. And my parents were like really upset when I told them I was going to leave this one firm. They're like, this is your first big tax law firm you've worked for. You've only been there for a year. Are you crazy? Just put your head down, get your paycheck. And then like a year later, I was like, I made 3 times the amount of money I made when I worked there, and I worked like half the time. They're like,
exactly.
Well, maybe we were wrong. And it's
when you work for yourself, that's the best first feeling. When you get to keep all the money, you're like, this is my my money now. I don't have to just bill out at whatever.
That's the best feeling.
It's the best feeling, because part of the reason I left is they were like, well, we're rainmakers, you're not a rainmaker. And it's like, well,
Right.
I'm gonna have to make it rain. I'm only making it rain on myself. Okay. Like, I'm not about to go out here and, bust my ass to like get a bunch of revenue so I can get like 1/8 of it.
Right, exactly. So it's a lot easier to bust your, tail when it's for yourself.
For yourself, yeah.
Right.
That's the best part. You don't mind working hard when it's benefiting you.
Yeah, and then you like you said, you can manage your time. You can run or do like things like I like roller skating. I can go roller skating whenever I want. I mean, I haven't done it lately because I'm pregnant, but you at least have options.
Yeah, it is what it is, and it always works out. I mean, it'll work out. It'll be fine. And if it doesn't, go do something else. It's fine.
I know. I love hearing those stories. That's great. I know. I feel like, our journeys are just, I mean, when I started this law firm, like my main goal was just like, I want to have somewhere where I want to be happy. Like it's a cool place to work and that I like the people I'm working with and we have fun, and then that's pretty much how I'm hiring. I'm like, but I like to I use my intuition. Wait, I'm like, what am I? I'm like a spontaneous hirer. I literally am. It's really bad, but I think I think as women even more, we have intuition that we really need to listen to, like with all of our decisions. And sometimes I think that makes us even more powerful, when we have that emotional side and we have, if we listen to that, we know what decisions we're making. Or I always say, just sometimes, this rush, busy world, if we can just be still for a moment and kind of like check in and see where we are we still on the right path? And that's now how I'm handling immigration cases too, because we just never know. We got to be ready. Especially the last 4 years, we got to be ready to change it up if we need to. It's not a bad thing to change your destination on this journey. And like sometimes we learn that, along the way. I'm going through this right now with so many things, but it's actually like, I mean, it's honestly like when you're kind of like, you feel like you stopped and you got to change course and do something else. And then, that door might close, but like another 5 are opening. And then once you've closed this, oh, that was my dream. But, actually it's not. You close that door and then it's like, it's freedom. And now you're opening up your life to like whatever you're really supposed to be doing. And so I think like check in with ourselves, and it's just so important. And I think there's a lot. And the one other thing is just like, who the hell cares what anyone else thinks? We know what's best for us. We know ourselves the best. So we can make those decisions. But I feel like so much is like, I want to make my parents proud, or this is what you're supposed to do. And so much pressure, especially on women, I think. So it's one of those things, but we're ready.
A lot of it's self-inflicted, I think. Honestly, we're just all so much harder on ourselves. Like, really.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, no, that's what I just said. I was like, I'm on this journey of self-love. I mean, it's just, that is the key to everything, like everything in the world. And I mean, it's like, I truly believe that. Like, if you love yourself, it's like, well, Louise Hay says it. I keep giving away this book. So I carry this book around, How to Heal Your Life. And it's just helped me so much. But I like when I was talking to somebody at an event, and like, they were talking about their sister, and she was just, a young woman, like, just struggling in many ways. And I was like, if you love yourself, everything works. And then I was like, hey, just take the book, give it to your sister, and here's my card. Have her call me if she wants to talk about it. Because I mean, sometimes the key to everything is so simple. So try to make things more complicated than they are. But I don't know, is there any, like, I guess we're like we're at 5 minutes left. I did like mess up the Zoom, actually, like I posted it in the wrong place, but I think we fixed it. So that is what happens when I do this.
No, we're like a year into this and I still don't get it right half the time. I'm always like, okay, let me just.
It's the Facebook Live, because I'm not I mean, I guess I know a lot of lawyers routinely do a lot of Facebook lives. Like I've been doing some videos, but I don't go on live except for this. So the Facebook live is kind of challenging, or I don't know. But I think we're good. My assistant is in Italy and she says it's okay. So, but yeah, so what we normally do, like, I don't know if anyone has any final comments, but before we do final comments, we can do like, we like end with a word that's kind of like how we're feeling, like a one word close. And we can go around. So think of the word and why, if you want to go around and do that, unless anyone else has something else they'd like to say. This was really amazing. I'm really inspired by you guys. And I just can't wait to do more with like this platform. And we actually have found someone who's using our LeGALS, and she has her trademark. I guess she applied for the trademark after us. But Amna and I'm like, I talked to the trademark attorney, like, cease and desist, you need to do this. And I'm like, I think I'm just going to reach out to her and see if she wants to like partner up with us or something, So, because that's what this is all about, empowering young women. And she's a law student. So like, yeah, we have like, we could run the gamut of like, helping all levels of women lawyers, women entrepreneurs, whatever. So I think that's the thing where, it's Women's History Month today, or this month, I think. And like, as I kind of reflected a little bit back about like my law school or my college, I think they talked about cutthroat. It's so competitive. Law school, competitive. What's your ranking? This and that. Like the big corporate law firm. Yeah, you've got it. You need to, let's try to like knock them down and do this. And you've got to be this and you're reaching. So like, this law firm that I've created, and like really what we need to do in the world is like think of things a lot more abundantly, because there's enough for everybody. Like, why do I need to knock somebody down? I need to lift somebody up. And I know that's kind of, I think you see these memes that they say, with women doing that, but women, I think, are notorious for kind of picking on each other sometimes and knocking them down. But I think they're also like, what I feel so much is just a tribe of amazing women that are around me that just really are, it's inspiring. That's my word. I'm going to say inspired.
I think my word today is going to be motivated. I'm like you, Elizabeth. I love hearing everybody's stories and the different journeys, and it just motivates me, and it gives me more security in my plans and what I'm doing. And that's why I'm thankful that I have a group like this. And, knowing folks like both Elizabeths and Alyssa, everybody brings something different to the table, and that's the fabulous thing. And we can all win.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that.
Oh, is it my turn? I'm going to say service, because Elizabeth, I really liked hearing about all the work that you do with the homeless. We live on the west side, and so we have a very large homeless population really close to us, and it impacts us every day. And I think people drive by and don't see the people, right? Like, people go on about their lives and never notice them. But I notice them every day. And so one of my goals for 2021 is, after this baby is out, I would like to be more involved. So I definitely bookmarked that organization you talked about, because I would love to help out. So
Awesome.
thank you for that.
Thanks. Mine, grateful. Thanks for having me. This was fun. This was, usually I panic of talking to people on cameras and things, but this was fun. This was awesome. So thanks for having me.
Oh, we really enjoyed it. Thanks for being here.
Yes, it was great having you here.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so
guys.
much.
Yeah. So you guys go out there, kick some more ass, be more like, do what you're doing. And hopefully we'll catch up soon in person.
No. Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.